Welcome back to the Ware's World podcast. In today's episode, we got somebody that is not only somebody that loves his job, but a walking example of a great photographer. He showed me some of his work in the parking lot, and man, I was impressed. Like, he has some really good stuff. His links are down below. Without any further ado, thanks Nick for coming on. Enjoy the show, guys. So who are you, man?
Well, my name is Nick Pease, and I am a photographer.
Photographer, how long have you been doing that?
I have been doing it for about 7 years. I just started, I would say, more professional work probably the past 2-3 years.
Okay, and what initially got you into photography?
I would say moving to Arizona.
Moving to Arizona?
Yeah. I've been living in Arizona now almost 10 years, and it all just kind of started with taking phone pictures. Just like going out hiking, and I was never a big hiker before I moved to Arizona, and I just kind of went out and started doing phone pictures, and they were coming out really good. And I'm
now,
like, well,
when you say phone pictures, is that like an iPhone, Android?
Yeah, I had an old iPhone.
Okay.
I mean, pretty like old iPhone 4, you know, that's like that big, and but pictures were actually coming out pretty good. And
would you like post those? Would you just print those out, or like?
Yeah, I would. I started posting them on Instagram.
Instagram. And what's your Instagram, by the way?
Oh, my Instagram is nickpease_AZphoto.
nickpease_photo?
AZphoto.
AZphoto, yep. Gotcha. And so what are some of the weirdest clients that you've had through your 3 years of doing it professionally?
The weirdest?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I can think of probably the very first person. Right after I bought my camera, it was probably about 2 weeks after I bought my camera.
What camera was that?
I bought a Canon EOS 77.
Canon EOS
77D, and it was just like a beginner camera, you know. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I'm just like, you know, why not? And after I bought my camera, I ended up posting one of the pictures on my Instagram, and one of the local news stations here in town featured it.
Really?
And one just random person who was following them messaged me and was like, hey, this is one of my favorite areas in Phoenix. He's like, you know, do you do prints? You know, can you print a picture for me? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And I didn't really know where to go, so I just went to Costco and made a print on canvas for him. And when I delivered it to him, you know, I was just like, you know, just give me X amount of dollars for it. And when I handed it to him, he was just like, I'm not giving you that.
I'm not giving.
And I'm just, and he was like, I'm actually going to give you more. And I was just, but it was just kind of like a weird interaction at first, and he's just like, I'm not giving you that.
Like a weird vibe at first?
Like a weird vibe at first.
But you think that's what he was going for?
Yeah, and he ended up being a pretty cool dude, so.
Do you still have good relationships with like most of your clients? Like him or some of your others?
Yeah, in fact, actually this first client, he moved to Michigan a couple years ago, and when he moved, he actually took a picture of the picture I gave him and messaged me and was like, hey, I have it hanging above my desk, and so that was pretty cool.
Now can I ask what that picture was?
I was at the Lower Salt River, and it was of, I forget what the name of that, Red Mountain.
Red Mountain?
Red Mountain.
I've never been there. I go hiking all the time. I do Camelback, and I did Flatiron Trail. You ever been to those?
I have. Flatiron was...
That's tough, right?
Yeah, that was tough. I didn't know what to expect when I first did it. But anybody who's done it like you know that it seems like you're walking forever and ever going through the desert, and then you finally get up to the base of the mountain, and then you look up and you're like, I'm going way up there. Right?
And it was like maybe a 7-hour thing, because I went by myself and I had to take breaks.
Yep.
Yeah. So what, for some beginners out there, what would you recommend for some beginner photographers?
As far as like a
The camera, where they should start, you know, like if there was 3 tips you had to give to a beginner, what would they be?
I would say any camera is a good camera. You know, I still have my first camera that I bought 7 years ago. I still have it. You can take any pictures with any camera. Second thing, I would say just start.
Just start.
Just start.
Right.
That's what I did, and I just started picking spots around Phoenix and just started snapping away, and
you weren't afraid.
And I wasn't afraid, and it was a learning process. And then once I started doing that, I thrived for more of that learning, and it's like, oh, I didn't know my camera could do this.
So then you would say that you didn't learn a lot of things about your camera at first. What was like that one aha moment where you're like, oh, my camera can actually do this, and this is like game changing?
The very first time I did that was a couple months after I bought my camera. I went down to Fossil Creek for the day, and I'd always seen pictures of like the waterfalls and, you know, the blurry water coming down and like the crystal, you know, clear river, and I'm like, man, that would be so cool to be able to do that. And I put my camera on the tripod right in the creek, and I just started adjusting my settings, and after about 5 minutes, I got like the very first, I would say, professional photo I ever took. And I was able to get the water blur, and everything was just like, I couldn't believe I took that.
And did you edit it? Like, do you use programs like Photoshop?
Yeah, I use Adobe Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop.
Okay. And for those photos, those would probably be on your Instagram with like along with like the edited or unedited versions.
Yeah, I do. I post all the edited, all the edited versions.
And like, I'm unsure. I don't know how most of it works. Do you print these out like onto postcards, or like sell them to people on your website or something?
I've mostly sold images to like family and friends.
Okay.
I did sell a couple pictures I took around here to one of my friends who started a church down here a few years ago, and we had two of my pictures hanging up in the lobby of the church, and it was so cool seeing that. And they ended up moving out of state, and they still have the same pictures, and they still, you know, buy an occasional picture from me. And
so how has AI impacted photography entirely? How has it impacted you?
For me, I have some editing software that is partially uses AI.
Okay.
And I edit the picture on Adobe Photoshop or Lightroom, and then when I'm done with that, I upload it to this, you know, AI software, and it'll detect any blurriness or any like graininess in the picture, and it'll automatically fix it using AI. And it's like that, just like that. And a few of my pictures, it's made a tremendous difference. But then the downside to AI is you see all of these on social media. You'll see you know, the sun is shining at the ocean, and then there's like a tornado coming down with a rainbow and all this kind, like you can clearly tell it's fake.
You can only make the thing one time, basically. And like even with Adobe and like the direction that they're going, like they just released, I know that I don't know your experience with like video editing. They just released where you can extend your videos with AI, like at the end.
Oh, okay.
Or there was generative fill on Photoshop. That was like a game changer, especially when it came to like editing thumbnails, stuff like that. Have you tweaked around with any of those?
Not really, no.
No?
The video editing, I don't have much experience with, at least as of yet.
Yeah, would you like to get into that at all?
That would be something I would consider adding.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so let me see what I got here. So how did you find? I know you said you moved to Arizona and you kind of like started taking pictures, right? And what was like that creative moment where you're like, I can kind of be a little more creative with this, and I can really go professional?
I would say it was probably going back to probably before I bought my camera.
Before? And
I was out, I don't know, I was close to the airport somewhere, just driving around, and sunset, and it was just the sky blew up with these amazing like orange and red and everything like that, and I had to just, I was like, the heck with dinner, I don't care if it gets cold, I gotta get this picture. And I ended up getting a really cool phone picture, and then when I got my camera, I would go back to some of these same spots, and I would realize like it was just amazing just seeing what the camera can capture.
Yeah. And so then you would say that you were just inspired by an iPhone. That's amazing. That iPhone 4 could really pump that out.
Yeah.
And before you moved to Arizona, where were you again?
I was in Minnesota.
Minnesota didn't have any good places to take some photos or hike?
They did. It's kind of funny. I had I don't remember what kind of camera it was. I think I got for my 16th birthday. And it was kind of like one of those, kind of like a point and shoot camera. You had the little screen on the back and the little zoom and everything like that. And I ended up taking that with me when I went to Europe in my senior year of high school. So I got to like go to the Coliseum, and I got to just see all of this tremendous stuff. But that was really the only like photos I did at the time. And then my dad and I ended up going to Montana over the winter one year, and we went snowmobiling, and I just took out the camera and was just taking pictures of everything. And it was, it was pretty cool, but there was only so much you can do with
some of those photos.
Some of the small, such a small camera. And it really wasn't until I moved to Arizona when I finally started. And the first time I went back to Minnesota after I moved to Arizona, I think it was during Christmas time, and I was, driving to my grandma's, I think, and I just saw the sunset, and it was just all these amazing colors. And I laugh now because I had no idea where to go. I'm like, I've lived in this town my whole entire life. I have nowhere to go to take a picture of the sunset. And it was...
So it was like mind-blowing. And now you have, you started off with that Canon camera.
Yeah.
Are you still using Canon?
I still have the same Canon.
Still the same one until this day. Have you upgraded lenses?
I've upgraded lenses. I have the 18 to 55 millimeter that it came with. I have a 10 to 18 millimeter wide angle. I have a 50 millimeter just standard, which is good for like portraits and up close, flowers and stuff like that. And then I also have a 70 to 300.
70 to 300.
And there's been a couple times where I've had that thing all the way at 300. And it doesn't matter how you hold it and everything, it's like you still get that little bit of shake because you got this big lens all the way out and you're trying to, but it's
almost like, have you ever played Call of Duty and when you aim down the sights you can like hold your breath? It's like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's cool. I like upgrading. Like we got We have a couple. We have a I think it's the same model as yours, the Canon. But I really like Fujifilm. Fujifilm has been, for what I do, is starter, and all around they've been solid. If you had to have one piece of gear that you don't have, like a new camera, a new lens, what would that one piece of gear be?
Oh, well, I know a couple of my friends have. They have a brand new Sony mirrorless camera, and these things are just the body itself without any lenses or anything like that are $4,000 or $5,000 cameras.
Oof.
But it's just like it's the latest technology, and my camera that I have is a 24 megapixel, and I think these are like upwards of 100 megapixels, and I definitely do want to upgrade my camera at some point.
And why haven't you changed from that first camera? Would that just be because you just like it? Is that just something that like you don't want to break the bank yet?
Kind of a little bit of both.
Okay.
The first few years I was taking pictures, it was kind of just like a hobby, and looking back at it now, and it's like I have some really professional images, and I just kind of did it as a hobby for a while up until a few years ago, and I ended up getting some of my images published in a magazine down here.
What magazine?
It was Images Arizona. It's
Images Arizona.
Based in Cave Creek and Carefree area.
Oh,
It covers like 60,000 people, I think.
That's awesome.
They were doing a December article called Festive Reflections.
Festive Reflections.
Yeah, and I had a picture I took in Scottsdale, all the palm trees were lit up, and they were all decorated, and there was like a little water feature in the center, and it was just the reflections, and everything was just, it was probably one of the best nighttime photos I've ever taken.
How does that feel, like, to be published in a magazine?
I was kind of surprised. I had somebody reach out to me on my Instagram page saying they were the editor for this magazine, and you have to watch out for scams and everything, so I'm just trying to make sure this is legit.
Yeah.
And this guy is real, and he is.
That's awesome.
He told me this was like back in September 2022, and they were already working on the December article, so he wanted me to take 10, 12 of my kind of like festive images, and I sent it to him, and we just communicated back and forth for a couple months. And
now, if you're comfortable with this, like, how does that work? Because it's more of like, how do I say it? Like, people get to see what you do, right? So are they paying you, or you're just doing that for free because you...
No, the magazine, I did get paid for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like they paid me for the images, and then for like the license to use the images in the magazine. And I had to fill out all of that,
the big
forms and everything like that. But I remember the day the editor called me and said the magazine was they were available, and they distributed it in the mail first, and then I had to go to Cave Creek to where the magazine, where the headquarters, and they handed me the check, and they just gave me like 9-10 copies, and they're like, here you go. And I sent some out to family out of state and friends and coworkers. And
what was their reaction?
I think they were pretty much awestruck, I guess.
They were like, yeah, Nick's got this. He's got this.
They had a whole the very first page was a picture I took in Lake Havasu of the London Bridge, and it was lit up at night, and there was different colors and everything like that. So they started off with that, and then there was like a little bit about the article and the the backstory and everything like that, and then they put 5 or 6 of my images in there, and then they did a whole interview with me, and then the whole interview was on a separate page with a headshot of me, and it was...
But that just shows you, like, you're using your starter camera. You don't need this mirrorless, you know, $4,000 camera. Yeah, it's nice, right? And
oh, absolutely.
But it shows people that you can do a lot with just a simple camera.
Yep.
Man. Do you have any of this stuff with you? I know you mentioned you might bring some photos and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do have... I still have that stuff in the car, actually, but I did bring a few.
Okay.
Few of those images.
Fact, we can. Yeah. If you don't mind, I can take some B-roll or something of it.
Yeah,
so I can
absolutely.
Awesome. So if your music or if your photography was a music genre, what would it be?
A music genre, what would it be? That's a really good question.
I'm sorry to put you on.
No, that one would make me think a little bit.
Country, something like that. Like, what do you listen to when you're hiking?
Usually, when I'm hiking, I don't usually
listen to music.
I like just the sound of
nature,
the peace and quiet. You know, you hear the birds or the wind blowing, or even just something as simple as like your shoes walking over leaves, and you have that crunchy sound, and it just everything together is just kind of like my music.
I got you. So ambient music.
Ambient music, yeah.
That's awesome. Let's see what else we got in here. What's the most random thing you used as a prop during some of your shoots with a client?
Most random thing.
You gotta think deep for this one. Like you probably had some of those where it was like, okay, it's supposed to go like this, right? The set, we go there, I take some good photos, and we're out. But then you had to like ghetto craft something, or like come up with something out of the blue. Do you have any examples of stuff like that with clients?
I can't think of anything I've had.
No?
Had that happen, no.
That's all right. Hey, I just thought that was a fun question to throw in there. But since you've started and like now you're dealing with customers, right? Mm-hmm. How has that gone? Like that journey must have started. For me, I was really like not a person to go out there and talk to people, right?
Yeah, I've been the same way.
It was weird. So how is that journey of talking with the customer to now where it's like more professional?
Well, I've always been more of like a quiet person and not just go up and talk to random people and spark up a conversation. But now doing more like family pictures or like college graduations, it's like, you know, it kind of like forces you to
get out there,
to get out there, and you know, you're behind the camera, and it's like then you got to tell them like, oh, stand over here, or you know, let's redo this, or you know, oh, your hair was in your face, you know, let's redo it. And it's kind of, I've been able to, I think, come out of my shell a little bit more. And then I've started doing, as you know, some of these business networking events.
Yeah.
And that's just going up to random people and shaking their hand and sparking up conversation. And
just like we did,
And
yeah.
That's been no problem. And it's,
I mean, when I met you, I wouldn't have told that you were like one of those people that was like, don't talk to me.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
But no, that's cool. What got you into like, okay, I need to go to these networking events? Like, was there, some people were like, oh, your network is your net worth, so that's why I went, or I had a mentor that got me here.
Well, last summer up in Prescott, I went to, I actually got paid to take pictures of an event,
Okay.
And this event ended up being a business mixer. So not only did I get to take pictures of the event, but then I also got to, you know, mingle with those people, and I brought a handful of business cards, and just the whole experience of it all, like afterwards, I had a couple people reach out to me, and I'm like, you know, I need to go to more of these. And then I got busy, you know, life stuff happens, and I haven't been to one up there since last summer. And then I saw on Facebook a couple months ago that there was one down in Scottsdale, and that ended up falling on one early in the week when I'm available. So I'm like, oh, that would be
perfect.
That would be perfect. And I just drove all the way from Prescott area down there, and people just thought that was amazing. I drove that far to go to the event, and
that's dedication.
That's dedication. You gotta, you know, expand your network. So.
And what's some of the craziest connections you've made at some of these networking events?
Well, the one just last week, I don't remember the guy's name, but he makes his own bacon.
Oh, Mr. Bacon?
That might be.
Yeah, I met him before. He didn't go to. I didn't know he went to Networking Live.
Yeah.
That guy. Was,
so we got to talking about. I don't know, there was something that we had in common, and then he just, you know, he asked about my, you know, photography, and he just said he makes his own flavors of bacon and delivers it and all this kind of stuff. It was like, that was, I don't really want to say that was a weird interaction, but it was just like, that's the one that stood out the most.
Definitely. Like, has there been somebody that, like, politically you've met, or like this person that is, I don't know what to say, 15 million followers, something huge like that? Has there been any of these at these network groups?
Not really, no. I got to talk to, his name is Christopher Reeves, or Chris Reeves. I know he's he does like business coaching, it's kind of stuff like that. I don't know how many followers he has on social media or anything, but he was, you know, pretty big deal. But he has such high energy, and just, you know, he wants to talk to everybody, he wants to get to know everybody, and it was that was pretty like cool.
I don't think I've met him, but it sounds like a cool guy. And I'm just wondering, because like some of these networking events, like people just like go there and they're just like, you know, I'm here just to be here, or just to sell something, just to do that. Like, at the end of the day, we all are there to like network and like expand our business. But when it's just like, you know.
Right.
Why should somebody trust you with getting some family photos, some portraits, stuff like that?
I would say, I don't know, somebody could, you know, hire somebody who does it, you know, 100 hours a week, 7 days out of the week. But I don't know if they get more of that personal connection. I mean, you could go with somebody who's, you know, done it for 15 years and all of this kind of stuff, but, you know, my whole thing is, you know, just like, not just my approach with photography, but just like life in general, is just like, you know, dare to be different.
Dare to be different.
Yeah, and, you know, that's, you know, trying, you know, new things, and just like, I think they would have more of a, I guess, a connection with me,
you.
And
but obviously you've built that where they've got that point where you're like, okay,
yeah,
well, they have this connection, because I've noticed that with a lot of photographers, and you kind of have to make it fun for that.
You do. You don't want to just, you know, have a monotone voice. Yeah, you want to.
All right, move your head
tell
over
a joke,
here.
or, you know, just.
You have some common jokes?
No, actually.
we got to work on it.
Yeah, It's funny because my mind is always going twisting with like dad jokes and everything like that, and I never think to incorporate that in doing a shoot. And it's like I'll be on the drive back home, and it's like I'll have this joke, and it's like, oh, that would have been fun.
Perfect. Yeah. It's just something that I noticed too with like dropping jokes. It makes it seem like it's like, okay, this guy's not just here to get a paycheck or something. Like, yeah, and that, I think that reflects into anything within business, like insurance. A lot of times in insurance, you know, people call in and they'll just like, okay, get a quote. Here's what you're gonna pay. You know, so having a personality matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
How has your dad impacted you, from like not just in photography, like throughout your entire life? Like, what would be one of the biggest lessons that he's taught you?
Well, I don't remember how old I was. Might have been in my late teens. I vaguely, just some things in my memory just like really stick out more than others. And I remember just having a conversation. We were sitting in the garage. It was raining outside, so we were just kind of like watching the rain, and he told me to find something you love to do, and then something you can get paid to do. So then you're not really working. You're just basically having fun, you know, for your job basically. And it was just like I went to community college and I started at a university, and I just didn't really feel the whole going to college thing. And then when I stopped going to school and told everybody like, hey, I'm gonna move 2,000 miles away to a place I'm not familiar with and where I don't know anybody and I don't have a job, and it's like, let's just see what happens. And then over the course of a few years, and I started getting into photography and started seeing how good I am at it, and the stories behind each image. It's just like I'm having fun. Like when I go on these trips, and it doesn't feel like a burden, because it's just like I'm seeing new places and new things, and
you get to capture that. You get to capture that. Yeah. Let's do one more fun question. If your camera could talk, what would it say about your shooting style?
What would it say about my shooting style? I'm trying to think of what the word would be, because there's some photographers that are just like, they'll just snap away at everything and anything, where I'm not like that. So I guess my style might be a little different, because if I don't visually see something, then I'm on to the next.
On to the next.
Yeah.
Picky or something.
Picky. There we go. That's a good word. Yeah. But then when you see everything that I've captured over the years, like, picky is good.
Definitely. Well,
it's like
I think that makes somebody professional, right? Like, you got to make sure you turn this angle, or the lighting needs to be like that.
Yeah.
So 100% being picky is great.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years in your business?
I'm hoping 5 years is actually a good amount of time. Hopefully less than 5 years. I can continue doing my fine art landscape photography. I've kind of taken a break from that, because I've been doing more, stuff with people. So I want to get back into doing that, but I want to be able to do this like full time, like even graduations or family photos. I'd love to collaborate with somebody and start learning how to do like some weddings. For the last couple years, I've always wanted to like go to an art show, and just like rent a booth, at any art festival, and just have some of my work for display and just get my stuff out to people. I just thought that I've always been really inspired when I would go to these art festivals, especially Tempe Festival of the Arts that they have every spring and fall. And the very first place I go is to the photographers area, and just seeing their different pictures that they take and analyzing, and just kind of seeing how they do things and talking with them. And it's just like, that's going to be me someday.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it, yeah.
You got it, man. You seem like well-rounded. You really have that work ethic, and you've been in magazines. You got that social proof.
Yeah.
So if there's 3 things that people need to know about you, what would they be?
Well, I'm actually It can just be like personal, professionally.
Personal, anything. Professionally. Either why should they pick you? Like,
that's another good question. I would definitely, I have, I might, come off at first as like this quiet, kind of shy person, but I'm actually, once you get me talking like with, about my photography or something interesting, like I'll just keep going and keep going. And so I'm actually very talkative, and I love to laugh. I love to just make people laugh. I'm a big kid at heart. I'm always like, laughing at like the most like childish thing, That's about it. That would definitely be one.
Okay.
I'd say another one.
I'd say we already said one. Picky.
Yeah, picky, definitely picky. And then a third. Actually, a lot of people might not know this, but ever since I was 12 or 13, I've always just been like fascinated with weather.
Weather.
With like thunderstorms and lightning and just like dark clouds and different like rain and snow and hail and all of that kind of stuff. So when I lived in Phoenix, I would go out and go storm chasing. So I would get like a weather alert, and I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go out towards the superstitions, and then I would try and get, you basically try and get ahead of the storm.
So you can get ready to take pictures.
Yeah.
That sounds super
cool. And ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to see a tornado. Like, just like in person, just like, even if it's...
Have you yet? You haven't yet?
I have not yet. A few years ago, I went out with a private tour, and we went all over Oklahoma and Kansas and Texas and New Mexico, and for like a whole week, in hopes of, seeing and capturing a tornado, and we didn't accomplish the goal. And it was, I was kind of bummed, because it's like, that's kind of why you go out there, but the memories behind that whole entire trip would definitely last a lifetime.
Definitely.
And I've always wanted to get back out there and try again, which is like getting a tornado, or you get like the big...
Well, let me know. I'm down to come.
Yeah, and actually, at the end of next month, I'm meeting one of my friends out there.
Oh, okay.
She's a photographer that lives in the West Valley, and I don't remember what she won, but she won some kind of award at the National Storm Chasing Summit in Oklahoma a couple years ago. And this is her first year she's doing her own tours, like on her own. She's not joining anybody, and she's got about a week time period where she's not on tour, she's not dealing with any people. So she threw out there a couple months ago, like, if you want to join me, you can go, more than welcome to. And like ever since she brought that up, I'm like, I'm gonna do it.
You need to.
So I got everything all booked, and we're ready to go. And try again.
That sounds
excited,
great, man.
yeah.
Where could the people find you? Website, Instagram?
I don't have a website yet, but that I hope at some point in this year that I can get one up and running and get, my whole entire portfolio on there. You can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is Pease _AZ photo. And then Facebook, just type in Nick Pease and
everything
should pop right up. So
you got it. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, that was awesome.